All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're breaking down what was honestly a completely historic and totally paradigm-shifting 2026 MGP season opener. The stage was set in Breeram at the Chang International Circuit. Now, heading into the season, we all kind of knew this final year of the current technical regulations was going to tighten up the grid, right? But I don't think anyone, literally anyone, predicted just how violently the balance of power was about to shift. So today, we're going to walk through exactly what went down, why it matters so much, and how these absolutely extreme conditions set the tone for what's shaping up to be the most unpredictable championship we've seen in years. And to really grasp the sheer energy of this opening weekend, you've got to wrap your head around this number. 228,228. That is a record-breaking attendance figure, the biggest crowd in Thai motorsports history. It just perfectly captures the crazy level of passion and the massive scale of this event. The stands were totally packed, the noise was deafening, and you could practically cut the tension on the grid with a knife. These riders weren't just racing, they were surviving in a literal pressure cooker. So let's kick things off with Section 1, qualifying and the starting grid. To really understand the shockwaves of Sunday's final race, we first need to look at the blistering pace they set in Q2. Marco Bezzecchi, who's now riding for Aprilia Racing, absolutely snatched pole position with a jaw-dropping lap time of 1 minute and 28.652 seconds. Sitting right next to him on the front row was the reigning champ Marc Marquez on the factory Ducati. And then in third, we had this fantastic showing by Raul Fernandez on the Trackhouse Aprilia. Right out of the gate, this front row gave us a massive clue about how the weekend was going to play out. Aprilia had clearly found some magic, putting two bikes in the top three and sandwiching the Ducati champion. But as we all know, speed over a single lap is a whole different beast compared to surviving a full race distance, especially under these conditions. Get this, track temperatures hit a brutal 60 degrees Celsius. For our American viewers, that is 140 degrees Fahrenheit. The ambient air was sitting at a sweltering 35 degrees Celsius. These extreme tropical conditions instantly turned the Thai Grand Prix from a regular sprint into an absolute war of attrition. It became a pure test of machine cooling, aero efficiency, managing those Pirelli tires, and honestly, just the raw physical endurance of the riders. Moving right along to Section 2, the final race digest. The moment those green lights went out, all the practice and strategy were immediately put to the ultimate test for a 26-lap showdown. The grid launched, and the tension was just unbelievable. You've got Bezzecchi, Marquez, and Fernandez rocketing off the line. For those first few laps, it was basically a high-speed chess match in an oven. The guys were desperately hunting for clean air just to stop their engines from completely overheating. But the whole complexion of the race, and frankly the early narrative for the whole championship, was flipped totally upside down on lap 6. Because right there on lap 6, Marc Marquez, the defending champion, starting right from the middle of the front row, suffered a massive, completely shocking crash. Just like that, he was out, a DNF right at the very start of the season. This single moment blew the race wide open. Without the Ducati spearhead pushing the pace up front, the entire dynamic shifted. Suddenly, everybody behind him realized that a massive haul of points was just sitting there for the taking. Well, if they could survive the blistering heat, that is. And nobody, I mean nobody, capitalized on that golden opportunity quite like Marco Bezzecchi. Now, you gotta remember, Bezzecchi actually crashed out in Saturday's sprint race, which cost him a huge chance at points. But check out what he said after Sunday's main event. It was important to calmly recover from the mistake. That right there, that is the mindset of a true championship contender. He didn't let Saturday's mess get in his head. He just locked in, managed his Aprilia like an absolute master in that grueling heat, and rode a flawless race to take the checkered flag. Which brings us to the final race results. Bezzecchi takes a brilliant, hard-fought victory, but look who's right on his heels. Pedro Acosta on the Red Bull KTM secures a ridiculously fierce second place. Raul Fernandez holds strong to take third, Jorge Martin crosses in fourth, and Japan's Ai Ogura makes this incredibly impressive late-stage push to claim fifth. Every single guy on this board had to fight tooth and nail, not just against each other, but against the sheer, exhausting reality of the Thai climate. Okay, let's get into Section 3, the dramatic shift in power. When you take a step back and look at these results from a manufacturer's point of view, the biggest takeaway is just absolute Aprilia dominance. In the extreme, literal machine-breaking heat of Breeram, Aprilia managed to put an astonishing 4 bikes in the top 5. You've got Bezzecchi winning, Fernandez in third, Martin fourth, and Ogura fifth. Their bikes were so clearly dialed in for thermal management and aero stability. They didn't just survive the conditions, they totally conquered them. And that Aprilia dominance, it came at a huge cost to the established kings of the grid. Get this, heading into the weekend, Ducati had racked up a mind-blowing 88 consecutive podium finishes. Think about that. 88 races in a row where at least one Ducati rider was spraying champagne. Well, that incredible multi-year streak snapped right here in Thailand. 0 Ducatis on the podium. The highest-placing Ducati was actually Fabio Di Giannantonio, all the way down in 6th, with Pecco Bagnaia finishing a distant 9th. It is a complete paradigm shift for the entire paddock. Meanwhile, another major storyline was unfolding a bit further down the pack. Yamaha made massive headlines by officially swapping to a new V4 engine for the 2026 season, ditching their traditional inline-4. But man, the debut was rough. Fabio Quartararo finished down in 14th place. He admitted that while they expected some growing pains, they really struggled with pace when they got caught in the middle of the pack. They're clearly in a major rebuilding phase right now, trying to figure out the sweet spot for this brand new V4 platform. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 4, the 2026 point rankings. So, with the first weekend of the year officially in the books, here is your brand new World Championship leaderboard. Pedro Acosta is sitting right at the top with 32 points. How'd he do it? Well, he won Saturday's sprint race, grabbing 12 points, and followed it up with 20 more points for that brilliant second-place finish on Sunday. Bezecchi's sprint crash means he's sitting in second with 25 points, and Raul Fernandez is right behind him with 23. Jorge Martin and Ayo Ogura round out the top 5. It's such a fresh, exciting leaderboard led by the young KTM sensation. Which really leaves us with one burning question. Is this the definitive end of the Ducati era? For the first time in 88 races, they missed the podium. Aprilia looks like an absolute powerhouse right now, and KTM has the championship leader in Pedro Acosta. So was this just a weird fluke caused by the brutal Thai heat and a super rare mistake by Marc Marquez? Or are we truly entering a brand new, totally wide-open era of MotoGP, where literally anyone can win? It is such a fascinating setup for the rest of the season. Let that sink in and think about how you see the rest of this year playing out. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you for the next breakdown.